Blog Talk Radio.
This one goes out to my little homie Brandon. Told you, I got you, my man.
A lot of pressure, man. Let's go, baby. Sophisticated gorillas is on the move tonight. VA, stand up. Come on. My man. Come on. 100 miles of running with guns in our hand. Barbarian, heavy metal carrying rock band. Invested in stock, man. That's in the clock, grand. My peeps got a spot on the block of my block, fam. A jar in the pot, man. Gets you a knot, man. Like ching ching. Hot damn. Cooked it like a hot ham. Gotta be smart, man. Playing your part, man. Get your feelings apart. With ice over your heart, man. Hustling ain't a game. Hustling an art, man. 50% sour, 50% smart, man. In layman's terms, ain't shit sweet. Life gets cheap once plans gets brief. Be your own peace, trying to creep. Acting like they ain't get their chance to eat. The politicians, they say we valid in the street, but they the ones who put their face behind the white sheet. With holes in it. Life is a picture, baby, I posed in it. So my attitude is go get it. Cause I come from a place that's colder than a jail cell with snow in it. So I don't need your E-pill, I'm already rolling. I don't need your weed, I'm already floating. I don't blow the white girl, I got the white girl blowing. Who needs to get juiced up? I'm lyrically flowing. I don't need your shine, I'm already glowing. I don't need your nine, boy, I'm already towing. It's one last thing that you rappers should be knowing. I impregnated the game, man, she just ain't showing. My man, I'ma back off it up. Get that thing some air, yeah. Know why? Cause I swam with the sharks, ran with the bulls, swam with the vultures and hunted with the wolves. Swam with the sharks, ran with the bulls, swam with the vultures and hunted with the wolves. I done swam with the sharks, I done ran with the bulls, I done flown with the vultures, I'm hunting with the wolves. I swam with the sharks, I ran with the bulls, I flown with the vultures, I'm hunting with the wolves. My man, I'ma back off it up, get that thing some air, yeah. I'ma back off it up. Get that thing some air. Yeah. Hey yo, rappers try to battle me. Snitches trying to rattle me. Snakes trying to rattle me. Pretty bitches, they tackle me. It's crazy how my faculty rap for the cause. I got the realest and illest killers in back of me, y'all. And they down for whatever, no matter the brother. Nah, this ain't Run's house, but we tougher than leather. Our brother walk this way, lead you straight to the treasure. A pot of gold, but my road to the riches was cold. The devil had my dick in the dirt, soul in the hole. I had no pussy to hurt, no money to fold. This little bit of fame that I claimed quickly got old. These units wasn't moving, plus no hoes in my shows. But I couldn't stop rhyming, I couldn't stop grinding. Like Jack on that beanstalk, I couldn't stop climbing. Now look at the beach boy, he can't stop shining. Now look at the beach boy, he can't stop shining, my man. I'ma back off it up. Get that thing some air. Yeah. I'ma back off it up. Get that thing some air. Know why? Cause I swam with the sharks, ran with the bulls, flown with the vultures and hunted with the wolves. Swam with the sharks, ran with the bulls, flown with the vultures and hunted with the wolves. My man, I'ma back off it up. Get that thing some air. Listen, this ain't $1 million image or bullshit gimmick. This real nigga lyrics for real niggas to mimic. For the love of money, my niggas is never timid. Pitching so hard, them boys should win a pennant. Oh, fake ass rapper, your whole style is rented. I'm the super of this hip hop thing, you tenant. Political MC, after I'm presented. Cause every car I drive, yo, it's presidential tenant. Slightly weed scented with some pretty women in it. That'll be down for whatever in a PA minute. Had to calm down the curses, cause the Christians got offended. And dumb down the verses, cause hip
All right. Hey, what's going on? It is Tuesday night, and it's 10 o'clock, and you know what time it is. It's time to sound off on Sound Off Forums. My name is George Beverly, your host, and as we usually do it at this time, we like to kick it off with a couple of announcements, okay? Tonight, Barack Obama gave his State Union address. Everybody know how I feel about the president, but I tell you what, he hit me at the end. I know I shouldn't get all emotional, but I'm an emotional man, an emotional creature by God, so that's the way I am. So when he said that a lady, I didn't catch her name, I wish I did, she was 102 years old, stood in line for 6 hours to vote and would not leave until she voted, until she got her sticker, it brought out the true pureness of strength, encouragement, nothing giving up, the will to carry on when it seems to be impossible. Too many of us in this age give up too soon. That lady stood for something. She's 102 years old. That means she lived through the times where she wasn't able to vote. She lived through the time where she voted for Barack Obama not once, but twice in her life. And I just thank God for that moment, because that is a moment that we should never forget. There's a gospel song called "We've Come Too Far to Turn." All right. So, like I always do it on this time, I'm going to go ahead and get these announcements out of the way. I'm going to bang them up. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, you can follow me at george.mango.904. You can also follow me on Twitter at soundoff97413. Or if you'd like to call in, you can call in at 347-989-1014. I'll be reading from the usual Ephesians 6-13, King James Version. Not with eye service as man-pleasers, but as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will doing service as to the Lord, and not to men, knowing whatsoever good things any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord, whether it be bond or free. And ye masters, do the same thing unto them, forbearing, threatening, knowing that your master is also in heaven, neither is there respect of the persons within him. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, dark angels, against powers, against powerful dark fallen angels, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, the fallen dark angels of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, against spiritual wicked fallen angels in high places. Wherefore take upon the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. I'd like to put out a little bit of advertising here. I've got Madeline, oh Lord, Madeline is her name, I forgot her name, Chappelle, sorry, Madeline Chappelle, Better Days Publishing. She does invitations, posters, programs, obituaries, magazines, flyers, business cards, etc. She says, hello, I wanted to do this again, so it's such a love. I was getting so much love and information from everyone that I printed the February issue of Better Days magazine. You can put it up, you can pick it up at Davenport's, OB Shops, Sean's Beauty Plus, Trez Barbershop, and with her tonight, if you were at the meeting. Let's see. If you'd like to get a digital file, please send me your email address, and she can start posting those pages to you immediately. And she says enjoy. Her email address, if you'd like to email Madeline, is havebetterdays@yahoo. That's havebetterdays@yahoo. If you'd like to call her, her telephone number is 940-923-4727. Also like to give a shout out to the community. The community is having a meeting. The community meeting. They're having a community meeting on Saturday, February the 16th at 10 o'clock at the Martin Luther King Center at 1100 Smith Street on Valentine's Day weekend. Show your love for your community by participating in its growth. All right? And that's here in Wichita Falls. I say again, this will be a community meeting Saturday, February the 16th at 10 o'clock at the Martin Luther King Center. There also will be a wrestling match here in Wichita Falls. Yes, we do have a wrestling event going on in Wichita Falls. Now, it's one of those wrestling events like WWF, WCW, WWE, that kind of stuff, right? So they are found. Their name is. Let's see. Let me pull it up. Their Valentine's Day program is called Saints Valentine's Day Revenge Part 2, and they are called PACW, which stands for Pure Action Championship Wrestling. Children 6 and under, military, law enforcement, military, retired, fire and reserve, they get free admission. But the admission for regular attendance is $5 for admission. It says all the WACW titles are and will be defended on that day. And when you raffle for admission, you'll get a kiss. It's going to be Sunday, February the 17th, the next day after the town hall meeting, at the YOC Gym. That's at the YOC Gym, 401 Madison Street. The bell will ring at 6 o'clock sharp, but you can get the doors at 5:30. That's Pure Action Championship Wrestling, PACW. So I'd like to give a shout out to all those guys who are doing their thing over there at the YOC Gym. All right, now that we got all that out of the way, it is time for business. You hear me, y'all? Time for business. Yesterday was supposed to be part 3. We had some real bad technical difficulties trying to iron it out. So I'm going to redo 3, and then I'll come back next week and do 4 for you, ladies and gentlemen, and all my listeners. I'd like to thank y'all for listening and tuning in. We are approaching the 2,000 listeners. Tomorrow, the show would have been on for 2 weeks, and we are approaching 2,000 listeners. I'd like to thank everybody out there, but I especially like to thank God and my beautiful family and my beautiful wife for supporting me in the efforts to support the community. So, without further ado, I will get on with the heritage. All right, here we go. This is coming from the Census Bureau of the United States of America. The Census Bureau puts out this data, and it's important for each person to do it. Now, I'm very skeptical about it, but for some things, it's important for us to do because we need to get accurate numbers. Okay, so by definition, this says define of race categories used in 2010 census. White refers to a person having the origin in any of the original peoples of Europe, Middle East, or North Africa. It includes people who indicated that races are white, are reported entries as Irish, German, Italian, Lebanese, Arabic, Moroccan, or Caucasian. Moroccan, sorry. Black or African American refers to a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. It includes people who indicated that their race as black, African American, or Negro, or reported injuries such as African American, Kenyan, Nigerian, or Haitian. Okay, people, the reason why I am bringing this up is because it will start our dialogue on talks about where we've been and how we are defined as people, okay? So these are the laws that has been in the United States. And I'm sure they have updated it, but this is the most recent, current, updated law we have right now. Those are the definitions. So, as we know, white refers to the Middle East, Europe, North Africa, Irish, German, Italian, Lebanese, Arabic, Moroccan, or Caucasian. All right. Now, we're going to go to our good old internet, and we're going to look up North America. So, North America, or Northern America, is the most northern region of the African continent, linked by the Sahara and the sub-Sahara Africa. Geopolitically, the United Nations defines of North Africa includes 7 countries or territories. 1, Algeria. 2, Egypt. 3, Lebanon. 4, Morocco. 5, Sudan. 6, Tanzania. 7, Western Sahara. Let me say that for you again. 1, Algeria. 2, Egypt. 3, Liberia. 4, Morocco. 5, Sudan. 6, Tanzania. 7, Western Sahara. Okay. Now that we know this, let's sprinkle on down and find out exactly what these really mean. It says, the inhabitants of North America are generally divided into manner roughly corresponding to the principal geographic regions of North Africa. The Maghrebs, the Nile Valley, and the Sahara. Northwest Africa, on the whole, is believed to have been inhabited by the Berbers since before the beginning of the record of history, while the eastern parts of North Africa has been home to the Egyptians and the Nubians. Ancient Egyptians record extensive contact in their western deserts with the people that appear to have been Berbers or Proto-Berbers. One of the official languages in the country in North Africa is Arabic. The largest ethnic group in North Africa are the Arabs and the Berbers. North Africa is predominantly Muslim, with Christians and Jewish minorities. Ladies and gentlemen, are you seeing what I'm seeing here? The Egyptians said, we all know that the Egyptians and the Hebrews and all of them was there, but they said, okay, before the Egyptians came on the scene, we had what they call the Berbers. But the Berbers predate the Egyptians. Okay, I'm just trying to keep y'all. I'm just trying to keep y'all in the right path, so you don't get lost in the translation. Now, I want to go back to race and ethnicity in the United States, because it is very important to identify what we were and who we were as a beginning of a nation. Now, I know I'm using current statistics and current terms. That's only to bring you to the future of where I'm going to come to the roundabout of my point, okay, to the end of my point. So, the United States is a diverse country, racially and ethnically. 6 races are officially recognized: white, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders, are people of 2 other races. Okay. Now, it's important to know that they say the United States Census Bureau also classifies Americans as Hispanics or Latinos, and non-Hispanics are Latinos, which identify Hispanics and Latinos as Americans, as a racially diverse ethnicity that compose of the largest minority group in the nation. Now check this one out. White Americans, because we've already established that Hispanics and Latinos are considered Americans. So don't get that confused. White Americans and non-Hispanic Latinos and Hispanic Latinos are the racial majority with 72% shared of the U.S. population according to 2010 U.S. Census. Hispanics and Latino Americans comprise 15% of the population, making up the largest ethnic minority. Blacks are the largest racial minority, comprising of 13%. I'm not getting into the numbers because the numbers speak for themselves. But what I want to identify is, once again, who they consider Caucasian and who's not Caucasian. Whites are those, like I said, originating in the original origins of people from Europe and the Middle East and North Africa. Africans, or African Americans, or blacks, are those people of black racial groups of Africa. Now, I want you to answer this question for me, ladies and gentlemen. What is the difference between black racial groups of Africa and North Africa? Now, when I was in school, there were 7 continents, and Africa was never divided up as a continent. But because we have identified who's white and who's not white, we have divided the country. So if you call Africa the motherland of the black man, then according to the United States, that would be completely wrong. You would be false. Because the northern part of Africa, which are Muslim, who speak Arabic, which the United States has declared the Arabic Spring on, belongs to the white Caucasian race. Okay, that's fine. I'll let you have that. But we're about to go a little bit deeper, huh? For my black people who have heard of the Moors or know of the Moors, there's a lot of people who do know of the Moors and a lot of people who don't know of the Moors. But I'm about to introduce the Moors to you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? This is the truth. This is what history books don't teach our young children. Okay? Moors are spelled M-O-O-R-S. The Moors were a medieval Muslim inhabitants of Morocco, West Algeria, Western Sahara, Moroccan, and Iberian Peninsula, Spanien, Sicily, and Malta. The Moors called their Iberian territory Al-Andalus, an area considered the Baltaltar. Most of what is now Spain and Portugal, and part of France. There are also a more present in the present day southern Italy after they occupied Manzara in 827 under their last settlement of Lushkar was destroyed in 1300. The racial differences of the Moors, Muslims led to the century-long conflict with the Christian kingdoms of Europe, called the Requaza. The fall of the Granda in 1492 saw the end of the Muslim presence in Iberia. The term Moors has also been used in Europe in a border sense to refer to any Arabic or African descent. Rather living in Spain or North Africa, Moors are not a descent or self-defined people. Medieval and early modern Europeans applied the name to the Berbers, North African Arabs, Muslims, and Iberians, and the Western Africans from Mali or Nigeria, who have been absorbed into the Almohad dynasty. Mainstream scholars observed in 1911 that the term Moors had no relation to the ethnicistical value. So, George, what is George really saying? Here, I'm about to tell you. In Latin, the word Majusta is plural, and it's also means the name of the Maori people who were also called from the Mauritian portion of Rome Empire on the northwestern frame of Africa. It was also used in Greek, known as the Maui, meaning dark, faint, or dim. Besides the using of the historical text, Moors or Moorish is used to designate an ethnic group speaking the Hassanaya Arabic dialect. They inhabit Martulia, parts of Algeria, Western Sahara, Tanzania, Morocco, Niger, and Mali. So, George, why is this important? This is important because I have just identified to you that the Moor Empire not only spread from the northern part of Africa, but spilt into France, spilt into Spain, spilt into Portugal, spilt into the Iberian Peninsula, spilt into Sicily, spilt into Malta. So, my Italian brothers, my Sicilian brothers, my Portuguese brothers, my Spaniard brothers, and everybody in South America when Christopher Columbus got there and all them people down there. All right? All my Panamanians. I want y'all to know we've got blood in us. You've got African in your blood. They said that the dynasty was there from 827 to 1492. Do you remember the Berbers who said they were there before the Egyptians even had their own logical scripture? Let me give you a little bit more education on the Moors, ladies and gentlemen. A drought was in Spain that followed. It did not last long after the invasion of Africa. The banded on North America with the kings of whom they were there, and they revolted. Okay? These Moors right here, okay? These Moors right here, the truth of this conquest of the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, and Portugal was an African, not an Arabic conquest. The conquest of Spain and Portugal in the 8th century and later the greater part of Western Europe was occupied by the Arabics, who conquered North Africa. By the actual conquest was carried out by African enhancement of Islam. Okay? The rock of Gibraltar is the name for the Moors, Tajik ibn Zaydid. In 1711 AD, Master di Nusayr commanded his leading Moorish general, Taqi al-Zida, to assemble an army of 7,000 men and ordered them to conquer Spain in the name of Islam. Turks was victorious and soon became the master of Spain. The Africans renamed Moscapa in the compliments of their general, Jiba Tarka, the hill of Turka, a name that was subsequently corrupted by the Spaniards in Gibraltar. Listen closely, here we go. The Moorish civilization enlightened Europe, but brought it out of the Dark Ages to usher in the Renaissance period. They were capable of this because the Moors never had a dark age to come out of. Medieval medicine texts, which is anatomy and the course of treating, were written by Moors. The roots of most of Europe's culture can be traced back to the Moors, whose civilization was not only artistic, scientific, and commercial, but also incredibly tolerant to other races, cultures, and religions. Many of the Moors' culture and intelligence influences are still evident today. Astronomy, algebra, architect, guitars, library, aqueducts, gardens. None of these were present in Spain before the Moors conquered it. I know you're saying to me, George, what are you talking about? I'm talking about this, people. I'm talking about what America is built on. I'm talking about after the Constitution. I'm talking about the 13 colonies there. I know my people who study history know this word. If you don't know anything about history, you've heard it. You probably don't know what it means, but I'm about to tell you. It's called manifest destiny. I'll say it for you one more time. It's called manifest destiny. You say to yourself, George, what's manifest destiny? Well, manifest destiny is in 19th century belief that the United States had a mission to expand westward, across the American continent, spreading its form of democracy, freedom, and culture. I'll say that one more time. Spreading its form of democracy, freedom, and culture. The expansion was deemed to be not only good, but also obvious, manifest, and certain, the destiny. Many believed the mission to be divine inspired, while others felt it was more of an aristocratic right to expand the territories of liberty. Originally, the political patch phrase of the 19th century, manifest destiny eventually became a standard historical term, often used as a synonym to the territorial expansion of the United States across North America. The phrase was first used primarily by the Jackson Democrats in 1840s to promote the annex of much of what is now the western United States, the Oregon Territory, the Texas Annexee, the Mexican Census. The term was revised in 1890s, this time by the Republican supporters, as a theological justification for the U.S. interdevelopment outside of the North America. The term fell out of the common usage by American politics. But soon, commentators believed that that aspect of manifest destiny continuing to have an influence on American political ideology. In the 20th century, a general notion that the specific policy, manifest destiny, conspires not only a mandate for territorial expansion, but also the notion of individualism, idealism, American exceptionalism, romantic nationalism, white supremacy, and the belief in the inherent greatness of what was called the Anglo-Saxon race. Although the phrase defines precise definition, the components of all trends to share the mindset that presumes the indignant people to the primates or others those lifestyles, and the thinking required that they be civilized, separated, or necessarily destroyed, while the Anglo-Saxons occupied the land and harnessed it for the use and the purpose such as agriculture. Manifest destiny was both an example or justification of the territorial expansion of the United States and the western migration of the settlers of American frontier, and the ideology of the doctrine that helped promote the process. The article addresses the history of the idea of manifest destiny and the influence of the idea upon American expansion. The phrase was coined in 1844 by a New Yorker named John L. O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan believed that God had given the United States a mission to spread Republican democracy, the great experiment of liberty, throughout North America, because Great Britain would not use Oregon for the purpose of spreading democracy. Argued O'Sullivan. The Brits claimed that the territories would be disregarded. O'Sullivan believed that the manifest destiny was a moral idea, a higher law superseding other considerations, including international laws and agreements. That means treaties. O'Sullivan's original concept of the manifest destiny was not a call of territorial expansion by force. He believed that the expansion of the United States-style democracy would be inevitably and would have to do without military enforcement, as whites or Anglo-Saxons migrated to the new regions. O'Sullivan disapproved of the outbreak of the Mexican and American War in 1846. Although he came to believe that the outcome would be beneficial for both countries, O'Sullivan's phrase provided a label of synthesis that had become particularly popular during the 1840s. But the ideas themselves were not new. O'Sullivan himself had earlier expressed that these ideas, notably in 1839 essay titled The Great Nation of Futurity. Historian William E. Weeks had noted that there were three key themes were usually touched upon Manifest Destiny. The first one would be the virtue of the American people and their institutions. The mission, number two, the mission to spread their institutions, thereby redeeming and remaking the world in the image of the United States. Number three, the destiny under God to accomplish this mission. All right, people. If you never read, his name is Niccolo Machiavelli, The Art of War. The Prince. I've talked about The Prince. I've referenced The Prince in my earlier shows. You need to pick it up. If you have not seen Tanju's Art of War, you need to pick it up. If you have not read the Willie Lynch letter that he gave on the banks of Virginia, you need to pick it up. So let's look at Manifest Destiny and break it down so we understand this, ladies and gentlemen. Manifest Destiny was based on a concept that it would spread its forms of democracy, freedom, and culture. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I believe in that. Democracy, love it. It works when it's really working. Freedom, I believe all people should be free. Culture, I feel that everyone should be in love with their own culture. Should love it. Whether you're white, black, Mexican, Jewish, Italian, Greek, doesn't matter. You should love your heritage. Okay. Now, they reformed it out of a political form, and then they turned it into, and they used it as a propaganda tool for the American people. Okay? Because when it comes to propaganda, it's very easy. They give us words like Al-Qaeda. They give us words like melting pot. They put words like cartel. They put fear in our hearts like illegal drugs. Those are the type of words I talk about as propaganda. Okay? So, the general says that it was a mandate for the territorial expansion. Okay? The notion was for individualism, I agree with. Idealism, which I agree with. American expectationism, which I agree with, and I'll get to that part. I'll tell you what it is. Romantic nationalism. I'll tell you what that is. And everybody know the last one. White supremacy. Now, why did he say this? I don't know. He said it. I didn't. And the belief that the inherent greatness of what was to be called the Anglo-Saxon race. Although the phrase defines previous definition, the concepts of all of these trends should be in the mindsets of the indigenous people. That means the Native Americans, the Mexicans who are here already, they need to get rid of all these people, okay? They said they would be primitive, other whose lifestyle or the thinking requires that they should be civilized. So they think these people don't have any type of civilization. They're not civilized. They need to be separated, or they need to be destroyed. While the white Anglo-Saxon opportunity to occupy the land and harness, listen to the words, harness the useful properties of agriculture. Okay, so let me get to what American expectationalism is. American expectationalism has been historically referred to the belief that United States differs qualitatively from the other development nations because of its national credo, historical evolution, or distinguished political or religious institution. The difference is often expressed in American circles as the categorical supremacy, to which it is usually attached to alleged proofs, ratifications, or explanations that may vary greatly depending on the historical period or political context. However, the term can also be used in a negative sense by criticizing of Americans' policies to refer to the unwillingness of the nationalist, ignorance, or the fault to commit to an American government. Okay? It says, on one hand, the American invention of the world stage has claimed a moral purpose of acting aristocratically in defense of freedom and democracy. On the other hand, America has been accused of behaving as a nation above other nations, imposing its hereticism on the rest of the world, and acting as its own interests with no concerns of others. The U.S. has far from unique in claiming to be special. Many nations, ancient, modern, have regarded themselves as having a special role to play, sometimes blessed by God. The nation can be forced by good or evil, or for evil in the world. History suggests that the pinnacle nations that temper powers with morality with the aim to maintain peace, of spreading justice, or defining human rights may have a critical role to play in securing the sustaining future for the planet of human race. Formerly imperialism powers are among the world's strongest champions of human rights and human equality. That's what American expectation is. Okay? So I'm going to get to romantic nationalism. It's also called national romanticism or organic naturalism or identity nationalism. It is a form of nationalism in which the states derive its political legitimacy as an organic consequence of the unity of those in its govern. It includes, depending on the particular manner or the practice or the language, race, culture, or religion, the customs of the nation. It is the primary sense of those who were born within its culture. This form of naturalism arises in the reaction to dynamic or imperial hegemony, which also accesses the legitimacy of the state from the top down, in mannering from the monarchies of the other authorities, which justify its existence. Such hereditary powers in its specific basis on the sense of universal order that is usually derived from God or gods. Among the key terms of Romanticism is its most enduring legacy. The culture assessing the Romantic naturalism having also been central of its post-Enlightenment art, political philosophy from the early stirrings of the focus and depending on the nation's language and the folk tales. The spiritual virtue of the local customs and traditions to the movements that is redrawn the new maps of Europe and lead the cause of demonetization are nationalists. Nationalism, which is one of the key development in romanticism, naturalism has been a potential part of political force since the second half of the 19th century, and self-determinism remains the most widely accepted radical for the national integrity in the main modern world. Why did I tell you about that? Why am I talking about this, people? I want you to understand where we've come from, okay? Where we come from, and where I started was, as I told you what the United States considered to be white. In the Manifest Destiny, it tells you specifically what they want to do. So when we talk about, when we talk about where African Americans have been, where we've gone to, where we're going to go, it all comes from our history. Okay? So, I want to say this right quick, all right? I'm going to, and this is very controversial because a lot of people don't believe this. My white brothers and sisters, I want you to know that I love you from the bottom of my heart. Does it hurt me sometimes when my brothers and sisters of the minority race on this planet get screwed over because of something that happened by the man or the 1% of the global oligarchs out there? Yes, it hurts me dearly. 34 of my years, I have lived as a black man in a white world. I've only had 2 black girlfriends in my whole entire life. I have always sided with the white point of view, whether they was Democrats or whether it was Republicans. Why? Is because the information mill feeds me that way. I'd rather get along than go across the grain. One quick story, and then I'll get to my point. When I was in high school, I was hanging about with a group of my friends, and it was Halloween time. And I explained back in my other stories, on my other files, my shows, how the demographics of the economic and social development was in that neighborhood. Well, the actual ghetto and hood was like not only but 3 blocks away from where this person lived. So we're sitting in his front yard, and one of my friends he sees a whole bunch. It was Halloween. A whole bunch of black little kids. I mean, they couldn't have been more than 5 or 6, and they were coming to the white neighborhood, and they're coming to get candies. Now I'm the token black guy. He says, "I wish these little niggers would go home." Everybody turned and looked at him, and he said, "What? George is one of us." Now, when he said that, he said to them, George is not a nigger completely. He is Toby. He is Fiddler. He's not Toby or Kunta Kinte. He's not Kunta Kinte. He's not going to try to run from the farm. He's not going to run from us because he's a house nigger. He's one of us. He's going to be with us because he trusts us. You may believe that or not. I'm telling you my experience growing up in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I'm telling you my experience. I'm not talking about anybody else's experience, my experience. So I told him, I said, hey, you can't talk that way to them because those kids were me. Now, I could have said, man, forget this, I hate all white people, but it did not bother me. But it kept that piece of pie that slice of pie in the back of my mind. You better know who you are. Okay, so I'm still plugged in. I'm unplugged from the matrix. I'm unplugged from the system. You need to get unplugged from the matrix, people. You need to wake up. I talked about the matrix last week. If you hadn't heard it, you need to listen to the matrix. I'm no longer plugged in to look at that woman with the red dress, okay, because I got Jesus on my side. Now, to say this, you could be the poorest white person there is, live in the hood, You could have a clip-on grill. You could have Thug Life tattooed across your chest. You could have a bandana, and you could be a blood, crip, folk, whatever, throw all kinds of signs, hang out with the black guys, and they accept you. The same black brother of his, he got Thug Life tatted across his chest. He got his bandanas on, crip, blood, whatever, folk, whatever, throwing up their signs. Let me tell you the difference between that black gangster and the white gangster. When that white gangster grows up, he can take his grill off. He can go get himself a nice haircut. He can throw down the bandana. He can put on a nice shirt and some pants, go to school, get an education, have a little family, go and get this interview for this job. Nobody know his past. They don't know his record. He'll get the job. But his same homeboy in the same group gets a nice haircut, takes off his earrings, takes out the grill in his mouth, got Thug Life tatted across his chest. He could put a shirt on, go to college, get him an education, get him a nice little family. The same dude that he knew from the block gives him a recommendation. He talks him up to his boss. He gets there. Steve White shows up. And guess what? Steve White is black. Now, you finish that story and tell me whether he's going to get that job or not. That's why I'm about to talk about what they call white privilege. White privilege. White privilege or white skin privilege refers to what some individual perceives as an advantage that white people enjoy in certain social beyond those commonly experienced by people of color. In the same social, political, or economic space, national, community, workplace, income. All right, I'm back. Can you hear me? I'm back. I got kicked off. Now I'm back in. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? All right. So, I'm going to continue with the white privilege, okay? So, I was at the controversial term connotes that both obvious and less obvious unspoken advantages that white individuals may not recognize that they have. These include cultural affirmatives of one's own worth, greater presumed social status, or freedoms to move, buy, work, play, and speak freely. The concept of white privilege is also implied that the right to assume the universities of one's own experience, marking others as different or expectational while perceiving one's own self as normal. It can be compared with the concept of male privilege. Certain niches like academic perceptions such as critical racial theory and whiteness studies use the concept white privilege to analyze how racism or racialized societies affect the life of white individuals. The term itself is most often used in North America and English-spoken countries with historical racial stratifications after colonizations such as South Africa and of Australia. Now let me say this. Let me do this one right quick. It says critics of the idea itself offers alternative definitions of whiteness and the exceptions to limitations of white identity, arguing the concept of white privilege ignores information's differences between white subpopulations. such. Others suggest that the term is a form of reverse discrimination, or that it is used the concept of whiteness or the proxy for class or social privilege of such a distraction from deep underlying problems in equality. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you have not read the Willie Lynch letter, I'm going to bring it up again, because let me tell you how this ties into what I'm saying. It says that white people enjoy in certain social beyond those common experiences by people of color in the same social, political, and ethnic space, national, community, workplace, income, etc. It's either obvious or less obviously unspoken that the advantage of white individuals may not recognize that. These include culture affirmatives of one's own worth, great pursuits of social status, and of freedoms to move, buy, work, play, and speak freely. Let me tell you why this is true, ladies and gentlemen. And it's nothing tricky. If you like this information, I will give you the Willie Lynch letter. Because the Willie Lynch letter states this. I'm going to jump all the way down. He says, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if you instill correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseers can use it. I have an outline, a number of differences among the slaves. Okay? And it takes these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, number one, distrust, number two, and envy of control purposes is three. I'll scroll down. He says, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust. Okay? Distrust is stronger than trust. And envy is stronger than altruism. Respect or admiring. Black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become your self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years. Let me read it again. Black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch. I'm not going to even say what they're going to do. Okay? He says, you must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks. Okay, let me tell you what overseer is. Overseers were people who were indentured servants to the master. So you got your Irishmen, you've got your maybe some Germans, maybe some Polish. We're talking about people who look white. Remember what I talked about earlier. Who are white people? Who are they? That's why I had to tell you who were white. I had to tell you who were classified as white. Okay? You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that our slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust us. Gentlemen, take these kids. These kids are your tools to control. Use them. Have your children and your wife use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Did you hear what he said? If you install this for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. And you wonder why you say you can't understand why white privilege doesn't exist. Let me tell you this. Let me show you what kind of foul language. And if you can't take this, then you need to not listen to this, because I'm reading something that Willie Lynch used to control black people. And you can't say that black people are not still being affected by this. Why do you think the way they are and the way they are now? Yeah, some people rise out of the pot, but I guarantee you what? The black people who stood up, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Michael Stokely, Carmichael, the Black Panthers, neutralized them. Why? Because it says the cardinal principles of making a Negro. The fear that our generation may not understand the principles of breaking both beasts together. What? Willie Lynch didn't say that. Yes, he did. Listen to me, people. For the fear that our future generations, he didn't say when slavery stops. He didn't say that. He didn't say that at all, did he? He said when our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both beasts together, the nigger and the horse. Now, he's referring. He said it requires us to have breadth and depth in the long-range comprehension planning, accumulating both skills sharply perceptions. We lay down the following principles for a long-term comprehensive economic planning. Both horse and nigger are no good to the economic in the wild or in the natural state. Both must be broken and tied together in order to have production. For orderly future, specific and particular attention must be paid to the female and the young offspring. I'm not going to even read that. I'm going to let y'all do it. Read the Willie Lynch. I read it already. Read it. Get it. Understand it. Now I'm going to tell you the meats and potatoes of the whole thing. Why do you say that we got to ask permission? Because we still got that, yes, sir, master, can we do this, white people? Can we do this? Please, government, give us some food stamps. Please, we can't do it on our own. And you talk about you shouldn't help these people, but after the Civil War, you kicked them out of the plantation, gave them sharecropping, said that we were free. It's 150 years later after the Emancipation Proclamation, and black people are still in the same condition. This is why. Let me tell you. He says crossbreeding completely for further severities from their original being, we must completely annihilate the mother tongue from both the new nigger and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves the new life's work of both. You must know the language is a particular institution. I just read you what an institution was when we were talking about manifest destiny, y'all. Didn't we say that was part of the two things? Let me read about manifest destiny to you one more time so you understand the concept of what I'm saying. Historian William E. Weeks said, manifest destiny has three things, three keys. First, the virtue of American people and its institutions. Two, the mission to spread their institutions, thereby redeeming and remarking the world in the image of America. Three, the destiny under God to accomplish the work. You see where I'm going with this, people? So he says we must completely annihilate the mother tongue of the new nigger and the mule, and to institute a new language that involves the new language of work of both. This is what he says as an example. He says, if you take a slave, you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets, and he will then no more be a slave. If you can't fool him any longer, and being a fool is one of our basic ingredients of any incidents to maintain slavery system. You hear what I'm saying? Being a fool is one of the basics. So once again, why is it that there's always a comedian, always an actor, always a singer talking for the black people or the black race? There's nobody intelligent speaking for the black people but buffoons like Chris Rock. I love me some Chris Rock. He's funny as heck. But what he said on TV, they won't let Louis Farrakhan get on TV. Oh, because he don't like white people. Hell, that's white people who don't like Obama. They trying to kill him. But they let them speak on TV. They don't let Cornel West speak on TV. Oh, he too critical of the president. Who they get? Al Sharpton. He on TV speaking on we love the president. NAACP. Oh, we love the president. No. Be real. Be black. Be proud. But we can't. Because you know why? Because we're still being the fool. Willie Lynch said this is another example. If you tell a slave that he must perform in getting out our crops, and he knows the language well, he will know that our crops did not mean our crops. And slavery, the slavery system will break down, and he would relate on a basis that our crops really doesn't mean that. So you must be careful in setting up a new language, for the slave would soon be in your house, talking to you as man to man, and that is death to our economic system. People, this is not me reading this. I'm reading it. I didn't write it. He said, for the slaves will be soon in our house, talking to you as a man to man, and then is death to our economic system. So they're not even worried about us as people. They don't even care. What they worried about? About their money. Didn't I tell y'all that? Did I tell you that when I was talking about that, the occult was about? Huh? What the Bible say? We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Huh? We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We don't do it. But higher powers. Now I'm about to really get on y'all. I'm about to really get at y'all. Second half of the hour. Thank you for listening to Sound Off Radio. Okay? I'm about to really blow y'all mind. Discrimination based on discrimination based on skin color or colorism refers form of prejudice or discrimination in which human beings are treated differently based on the social meaning attached to skin color. Colorism is a term coined by Alice Walker of 1982, is not the same as racism. Multiple facts are used to identify race, skin color, or ancestry. Therefore, racial category does not solely rely on skin color. Skin color is only one mechanism using the assignment of individuals of race category by race, and it is to set the belief of the assumption according to the category. With racism, it is the social meaning attached to an individual's race that determines a social status. With colorism, it is the social meaning attached to an individual's skin color that determines social status. In order for the form of discrimination to be considered colorism, differential treatment must not refer from racial colorism, but from social values associated with skin color. Okay? Now we know this. Now we know this, okay? Now we know what's going on. I'm about to blow your mind. You say, George Beverly, I'm about to blow your mind. What I want y'all to do is I want y'all to do your own little research for me. Okay? Oh, all right. I got a question. So what is your opinion on the following thoughts that Obama is being used to advance a political change that cannot offer without the support of minorities in America? That's a very deep question, and I thank you. I know who you are. I appreciate that. I believe. I'll answer it quickly so I can get back to it. But I believe that Obama is elected, not select. I mean, he's selected, not elected. Obama is merely a CEO of a corporation. America is not. America and the world has moved beyond what we think America is. We're not a democracy. We are capitalists at heart, and we are a corporation. Okay? So because we know that we are a corporation and Obama's a CEO, they don't care about the people at the bottom. Now, he gave a great speech about doing all these great things and bringing money back home on the State of the Union address. He did all that stuff. But as you can see, he brought up, when you talk about minorities, he brought up the homosexual, lesbian and gays rights issues. He brought up women's rights issues. He brought up the immigration issue, but he failed to mention blacks. He didn't say nothing about no Negroes, did he? He didn't tell you what he was going to do for the Negroes. Oh, I'm sorry. He said that he was going to help us get education at the younger levels. He was going to try to get people to be more entrepreneurs within the community. Oh, he also said he's going to take guns out of the equation. Wow, that's great. I appreciate that. But he never addresses black people. He never addresses what I just read about the manifest destiny of what's happening to the not only the world but of America. The minorities have been forgotten. Oh, he talks about how many women are in his administration. How many black people is in his administration? When President Obama, the day President Obama says that I am black and I'm proud and I love it, that's when I'll be an Obama supporter. When he starts standing up for black rights, I'm talking about not standing up for black rights. When he starts propping up black agendas and keeping up black agendas, then you could ask me that question. But right now, I ain't buying it. Poof. Let me tell you this. I'm not talking about discrimination. You want to know about something about discrimination? Okay, you ever heard of Juneteenth? Because I ain't never heard of it until I moved to Texas. Juneteenth is known as Freedom Day, the Emancipation Day. It is a holiday in the United States that announces the liberation of slavery in the United States of Texas in 1865. Celebrates on June the 19th. The term June and 19th is recognized as a state holiday or a state holiday observation for 41 states in the United States. Why do we celebrate Juneteenth, y'all? Why do we do it? I'll tell you why. Though Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation September 22nd, 1862, with an effective date of January the 1st, 1863, it had minimum immediate effect on most slaves' day-to-day lives, particularly in the Confederate States of America. Texas, as a part of the Confederacy, was resistant to the Emancipation Proclamation. Juneteenth celebrates June 18th and 19th, 1865. June 18th is the day by the Union General Gordon Granger and 2,000 federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to take possession of the state and enforce the emancipation of its slaves. On June 19, 1865, while standing on the balcony of Galveston Ashton Villa, Granger read the contents of General Order Number 3. The people of Texas are to inform that in accordance to the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of people's rights and rights of the properties between former masters and slaves. And the connection here, therefore, existing between them became then between the employer and hired labor. The freed man is advised to remain quietly at these present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not allowed to be collecting in the military posts, and they will not be supported in idleness either there or anywhere. That day had since became known as Juneteenth. People, as you see, resistance is futile. I know I threw that Star Trek in there. Hey, listen, resistance is futile. You got to do it. The federal government came in there riding, come and ride that white horse out. Oh, had to free the slaves. Listen to this. Come on now. The federal government ain't got to push the states, but that's what I'm talking about, people. All right, so now I'm about to blow your minds. Now, we talked about discrimination and we talked about race. Have you ever heard of the brown bag test? Some of our older brothers and sisters, Negroes, blacks, African Americans, however you refer to yourself these days, know about this. This is coming from the Urban Dictionary. It says an actual test along with so-called rule tests in common use in the early 1900s among upper-class black American societies and families to determine if black people were significantly white to gain I have to start over. I'm sorry, I was interrupted. Have actual tests along with the so-called rule tests in common in the early 1990s among upper-class black American societies and families to determine if the black person was sufficiently white to gain attentiveness or acceptance. If your skin was darker than a brown paper bag, you did not merit inclusion. Thousands of black institutions include the nation's most eminent black fraternities, Theta Alpha Theta of Howard University, numerous churches, civil groups, and all political practices in this discrimination. The practice of the 19th century with this blue blood society and has not totally died. Zora Hurst was the first well-known writer to air this strange practice in public. The practice is now nearly universally condemned as at least in public as being an example of colorism, particularly against modern-day critics of being found the coloring complex or the blue-eyed. Okay? And also in the movie, best known as Spike Lee's 1988 movie, School Days. Now let me really blow your mind. For my Latinos out there, for my Hispanic listeners out there, for if you were Hispanic persuasion, I want you to look up what his name is, Vincent Guerrero. His name is VINCENTEGUERRERO. This man was a former slave and then president of Mexico. A former slave, and he designed the Mexican flag as a symbol of racial equality. You go, boy. Didn't know that, huh? Look it up. Look it up. It's there. Knowledge is power. I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you straight. All right. So, these terms are very important. Why are these terms important? Because we must understand why we think the way we think. And it's very sad. It's very sad the way we think, but that is because Willie Lynch told us. He told us, he says, if done correctly, you have at least 300 years, maybe even thousands. Let me explain to you about the one-drop rule. Has anybody heard of that? The one-drop rule? I know a lot of black people have heard of it. I know we heard of that. The one-drop rule. I'm going to explain it to you right now. All right. So it's called the ideal of racial purity. This is what it's called. The ideal of racial purity. This is where it comes from. The blood quantity, the blood thinning half-breeds. Okay? So now I want you to keep this in mind. All right. So just think about this science. We're in science class, and you got your family tree up there. Come on now. All right. So we got father on one side, and we got mother on one side, okay? All right, here we go. Let's say that we have a Native American, all right, and we have an African American, okay? All right. So this is how it reads: 1/8 Indian for the purpose of removing the tribal land rights. You understand that? You have to be 1/8 Indian for the purpose to be removed. 1/64 to deny equality access by law and custom if you're African. Now we're talking about pre-Emancipation Proclamation, okay? The father is Native American, the mother is African, okay, an African American slave, okay? The blood quality from the beginner, the following chart assumes not only one pure breed per generation, okay? So now you have a half to one parent, black, mulatto, Indian, half breed, okay? So we've got a mulatto. Why is it called mulatto? All right? Because of the mixings of that race, of the black race. You're not going to call a Native American and a Caucasian person a mulatto. it won't be called that. But if it's mixed with the black race, it'll be called a mulatto. All right? And my Creole people from Louisiana understand that with the southern people from Louisiana. I don't know, the northern people of Louisiana, y'all doing something different. Okay, so now we see these parents. All right? Now they have, let's say, 4 kids. One out of the 4 kids, all of them going to be black. They're going to be called Tyrone. Their great-great-grandchildren, their Native American heritage that they claim now, that's cut off. Now those great grandkids of that mulatto of the mulatto kids, they are called Atarum. Now they have kids. Now 1/16 of their great grandparents, they're completely cut off from the Cherokee Nation itself. So everybody talking about, I got Indian in my family. Hey, you better check that. All right? And then their great-great-great-great-grandparents is 1/32. And then their great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, one-drop rule minimizes the Southern qualification of being black. And why is this important, ladies and gentlemen? It's very important. Very important. You ever had somebody that you knew that looked black, but you couldn't really place them if they were or not? You're like, man, they look black, but I can't really place it. I cannot place it. All right? Yeah, they're black. They got black in them, but they're a darker shade. But they look white. And you say to yourself, well, that cannot be right. But it is. According to America, if you have one drop of black blood in your heritage, you were considered to be black. Now, that rule has been taken off the books now. I believe it's since 1990 that it's been taken off the books. I have to get the actual date. But we as African Americans, we still talk about that stuff. Like, oh, well, they still got, they still black because they got that one drop. And we've been indoctrinated, y'all. We've been indoctrinated within our own society, of our own race. The color line. W.E. Du Bois wrote that the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. And the 21st century color line is the border. What was the color line? It was the line that reserves the best jobs in the economic for one group of people while denying them the other through both law and private institutions such as businesses and other those discredited. Many unions have refused membership and jobs to those who are wrong side of the color line. And it is the same color line that would refuse jobs to those on the side of their senatorship. Okay? So you ever said, oh man, that yellow bone, huh? You ever heard of that? Oh, my black people, I'm about to take y'all back. What's your color? You high yellow, radiant red bone, paper bag color, bougie bourgeois, cafe kata, mocha mania? Are you Mississippi mud pie or Cadillac black oil? Are you ebony or jet? Are you just blurple? Are you so black you don't even got a name? You blurple. Come on. The traditional note of this is that the color complex involves skin color to blacks to reject blacks who were darker. However, the color complex also shows up in the terms of dark skin or Africans spewing their lighter skinned brothers and sisters for not being black enough. Oh, what Willie Lynch say? What Willie Lynch say? This is what Willie Lynch said. This is what Willie Lynch said. Willie Lynch said, on the top of my list is age. But it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size of the plantation, status on the plantation, and attitudes of the owners. Whether the slaves live in the valley or on the hill or the east, the west, the north, the south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now you must have a list of differences. I shall give you an outline of action that before I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adultery. Respect or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this, I've already read that. Let me jump down to this. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black man versus the young black man. Fiddler and Kunta Kinte in Roots. Fiddler and Kunta Kinte. Now get what they're saying. This is what he's talking about. When Fiddler is put in charge of Kunta Kinte to break him in, okay, that's what he's talking about. And the young man versus against the old black man. When Kunta was like, your name, when Fiddler was like, your name is Tobin, you gonna mess it up for me. He says, Kunta Kinte. Okay. The light-skinned slave versus the dark-skinned slave. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust them all. Now, this is what they say how to make a slave. I'm going to read this real quick. He says, let's make a slave. It was the interest and the business of slaveholders to study human nature, and the slave nature in particular, which with a view of a particular result. I and many of them attain profit in this direction. They had the deal not the earth, wood, and stone, but with man, and by every regard they had for their own safety and prosperity. They needed to know the material on which they were to work. Conscious of the injustice and the wrong, they were at every hour of perpetuating and knowing what they were themselves would do. Were they to the victim of such wrong? They were constantly looking for the first sign of debts of rebukes. They watched themselves in the skills and practice eyes and learned to read with great efficiency. The state of mind and heart of the slave, there is his sable face, unusually sably attached, this adaptation, soulfulness, indifference in deeds, any mood out of the common was afforded grounds of suspicion and inquiry. Frederick Douglass' Let's Make a Slave is a study of a scientific prospect, a man-breaking slave-making. It is described to ratify or result in the Anglo-Saxon ideas and beliefs of ensuring that the master-slave relationship. It it makes a slave the original and development of the social being called the Negro. Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black nigger man, a pregnant nigger woman, and her baby nigger boy. Second, we will use the same basic principles that we use in breaking a horse. Combine this with some more sustaining factors. What do we do with the horse if that horse we break them from one form to another one? That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature, whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring. We must break that natural string of independence from them and thereby create a dependency structure, so they must be able to get them from using production from our business and our pleasures. You cannot rest. According to both wild horses and a wild of nature nigger is dangerous even in captivity, for they have the tendency to seek their customary freedom, and in doing so might kill you in your sleep. You must not rest. They sleep while you are awake, and are awake while you sleep. They are dangerous near the family house, and if required too much labor to watch them away from the house. Above all, you cannot get them to work in the natural state. Hence, both horse and nigger must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of a mental mind to another, keeping the body, taking the mind. I know you've heard that before. In other words, break the wheel of resistance. Now break the process. The breaking process is the same for both the horse and the nigger, only slightly varies in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. You must keep your eyes and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the nigger. A brief discourse of offspring develops will shed light on the key of the sound of economic principles. Pay little attention to the generation of original breaking, but concentrate on the future generation. Therefore, if you break a female mother, she will break the offspring in the early years of development, and when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you, for her normal female protection tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord Almighty. Huh? This brings me to this. The complex, the glamour bar, the glamour side of it. The complex even includes the attitude about the hair, the texture, the lip size, the body shape, the nose shape, the eye shape, the color strut was termed and coined by black people who really made an indent based on skin color. Okay? Colorism. At the personal level of colorism, it is the self of belief. On the other hand, when a group or individual has the power to institutionalize or enforce behavior, laws, norms, and standards based on the belief of skin color, superiority, and inferiority, then colorism takes on a whole new dimension. The battle against colorism needs to be waged at a personal, interpersonal, institutional, and cultural level. At the institutional and cultural level, colorism, skin color prejudice, plus sanctioned power. Colorism develops. Okay. Give us your perspective on how Willie Lynch's letter is still relevant in the black community today. I'm reading it right now. Because I'm reading that part right now. When I was talking about the lips and stuff like that, I'm getting to that point right there where it says the complex of even increased attitudes about our hair texture, our lip size, our body shape, nose shape, our eye color. Okay, all that stuff plays into it, and it says this colorism develops when a person's opinion and individual basis on the credibility of their own norms, of their own doctrine is enforced. In today's society, skin color provides a stimulus cue to the thoughts and the emotional regarding personal perceptions of one interperson relationship. And that's what it's about. If you watch, oh Lord, what's that lady's name? She's on CNN. Me and my wife was watching it, and we let our kids watch it. There was this little girl on there, and she said, and her mother asked, "Do you think you're pretty?" She said, "No, I'm not pretty." She said, "What you want to do? What do you want to look like?" She said, "I want to be lighter. I want to be lighter." This is 2013, people, and black people talking about their skin needs to be lighter. They're talking about their hair needs to be straight. We need to look like Beyonce. We're still thinking like slaves. You know why? Because we look at TV and we let the news tell us and dictate to us what is right and what is wrong. You are beautiful no matter what you look like. God made you, and God knows what you're going to look like when the day you die. If you're 300 pounds and your butt sticks out like a back of a bus, and you got boobs as big as 2 watermelons, and you got big, juicy, thick lips, and you as dark as a shoe, you should be happy to be that. You should not let somebody else determine your own self-worth. And you know why we let people define our own self-worth? It's because we are still taught to not believe in ourselves. Instead of believing in our inner person, we want acceptance from other people. What other people say about us justifies who we are. For example, if a big woman comes out and she's wearing the same dress Beyonce was wearing, matter of fact, let's go to this YouTube thing. Beyonce made all the single ladies, and there's 3 women there, and she's got these little bathing suits on. Well, at the MTV Awards, they had the skit with these big women come out, and they was doing the single lady things. Now, were they being facetious when they were doing that? Hey, look, I say this. Be proud of who you are. Don't let people tell you or define who you are. Don't let your job define you who you are. Because if you lose your job, I guarantee you'll be depressed. Why? Because 1, you can't provide for your family. 2, you don't know who you are as a person because you've been working all the time. 3, you don't know what's going on in your house because you don't know how to work in your house because your wife's always doing all the cooking and cleaning and everything, and your children are unruly, and you have no idea. You cannot let other things define who you are. So when it comes to the Willie Lynch letter, like I've said before, it does not only affect blacks today, it affects every human being on this planet because this is how the world is being ran. We are being ran by manuscripts and ideas of people who are very evil in this world, who want the devil to go loose in your mind and think you're not worth it. You know why people go and I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say this, but I will say this. For every child that has a bad view of themselves and is bullied because they are different, you know what? Whoever that person is bullying, somebody needs to take a stand. Matter of fact, the person being bullied needs to take a stand. We shouldn't let people bully us around. You know why bullies exist? It's because the parents allow it to exist. Because the parents are bullies. Have you ever seen the parents of the bullies on TV crying? I ain't never seen the parents of the bullies crying, but you always see the parents of the victims crying. We are the victims. We are being bullied into society. We need to stand on our feet, tell our public elects, I'm talking about from the city to the state to the federal government, we need to stand together and be united and say, we will not take this. We know our rights. If you don't, we need to know them. So this is the three things that I want you to do, people, if you're listening to me. I want you to go, and I want you to be involved in the local politics. You can be involved in federal politics, news, all you want, but what you need to do is get down to the grassroots, because the money trickles from the top to the bottom. It doesn't trickle from the bottom to the top. If that was the case, we wouldn't have any poor people. So when people start talking about, oh, the stimulus package is gonna help everybody, listen. Stimulus package is not helping nobody. Just because you get extra $500, $600, or $1,000 does not justify the 11 months out of the year. Now, President Obama did say something that was great and interesting. We should legalize minimum wage at $9 an hour across the board. Oregon's minimum wage right now is close to $9. I was surprised. Lord Jesus. I know when I was living in Louisiana, my pay was like $4.45 minimum wage. I know it's increased since then, but that was 1995, 96. And I didn't have no children. So I can just imagine what my mom was making. So let me get back to my things that I want you guys to do. I want you to start at your grassroots, at your local level. Get involved in your city councils. Find out what's going on in your city. Find out what they're spending their money on, because everybody got a budget. If you listen to President Obama's speech tonight, he said that we must pay our bills on time. He wasn't talking about American citizens. He was talking about the United States of America, because the reason why we're in debt is because we're not paying our people on time. So you mean to tell me the United States got jacked up credit? But you saying black people can't get no car and no house because they got jacked up credit. Get the F out of here, man. We're going to have to pray for y'all. Because two wrongs don't make no right. You said America is in debt because we got jacked up credit because we don't pay people on time? And there's other things behind that. But what I'm trying to say is if you start your ground roots and find out what they're purchasing or what they're building in your community, and one side's getting beautified and the other side's not getting beautified, well, something wrong with the money distribution. Because if you go spend money on this side, it's money on this side, then the money has to come somewhere. It has to be if your town is halfway full. Okay, let me put it this way. If you go to a fast food place and you ask for a soda, and you paid 99 cents for your soda, and they gave you a half a cup and the rest ice, what you gonna do? You gonna turn the car around, or you gonna go right back in there and tell them to fill it to the rim, right? Well, that's what you need to do as a city. If your city, half of it's beautiful and the other half is jacked up, well, they need to disperse that money from one side of the city to the other. And I know it has to do with property tax, but guess what? They come up with a budget to do other things, they can find ways to do something another way. We got some smart people in office. Don't think there's some dummies. They're not dummies. They know what they're doing. It's called an agenda. Are you on their agenda or are you outside their agenda? You need to find out. The second thing you need to do is you need to find out what's going on your state agenda. How they're spending the money statewide. Did you know when the federal money comes down to the states take the money off top and then disperse it to the cities? Louisiana, come on, talk to them, Louisiana. They want to pay their state debt first, or they want to pay whatever they need to do we need to do this and do this and do this. This is why these people are losing jobs in states, is because the states are taking the money off the top instead of giving it to the cities and the mayors who need it. But it takes people who are brave to stand up and say, we won't stand for foolishness. It's time out for Republicans, liberals, and Democrats. We need to be the human race. We need to come together. Okay, we won't agree on everything, but we agree that we don't want to live like we're living. We don't want to see our beautiful nation like we live in. We got too much money floating around for not at least everybody get a piece of the pie. Now, Jesus said there will always be poor and struggling. So it is what it is. But when you got homeless women and homeless children living in shelters, that's a no-no. When we got veterans who fought in the war and they're struggling to get their medical benefits because they can't prove it or they lost their medical records, it's not the military, it's not the veterans' fault. It's the military's fault. The veterans are guilty until they can prove themselves innocent. And it should not be. If you went to Iraq, if you went to Gulf War, if you were a Vietnam vet, if you were a Korean vet, or if you were in any type of war, you should automatically get benefits until they can find it or disprove it. Because you got proof you were there. You want to talk about America's a beautiful country. America's this, America's that. Do you know that majority of these soldiers are still on welfare? Some of them on welfare, some of them don't. I mean, those are the E1s through the maybe E5. Some of them got 5 or 6 kids, okay? So I would like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight and who's going to be listening. Oh, and the third thing is of course, everybody's doing it now. They listen to the federal part. Everybody's always jumping on the federal. But you need to get local and you need to get state, okay? You need to get state and you need to get local. You need to know your rules and your laws of your city. You need to know the rules and the laws of your state because they vary from state to state. They vary from federal to government. Okay? I'd like everybody who came into the chat room to listen to me. I'd like to thank everybody who's going to listen tonight. I'd like everybody who's going to listen to me in the future. I appreciate the love that you guys are giving me. Please email me. Please email me at soundoff97413 @gmail.com. Follow me on Facebook at george.mango.904. Follow me on Twitter at soundoff97413. And next time I see you, please, I'm asking you people out there to sound off. Yes, I love you. Good night. It was a great show. I appreciate you. got some topics I'm going to email you in the future.